Well, anyway, the Mothership Explores is myself, Lauren, and we all know Miss LB, who has 6 kids. And
Hmm.
having 6 kids makes you an expert of some sorts, I would imagine.
Some sorts. Somehow, surely.
Yeah, you've got a lot of experience taking care of kids and dealing with issues. And I have a history with nursing. I was a nurse starting in 1994. I went to USC. And before that, I actually was a child development major. And since then, I have one daughter and I have one son. And my daughter is grown, so I have that experience. And my son is very medically fragile, so I've got that experience too. We're hoping between the two of us that we'll be able to, maybe help answer some questions. And even if we can't answer any questions, we want the audience to participate. So we'll address the questions, but we're ultimately going to take these questions and hand them to you to answer
Right.
on Reddit. So, if there's some problem that comes up and somebody out there hears it and they're like, wait a minute, I've been through this and I know what works. You could really help somebody.
Right. I think that's a part of the point of this is just to kind of be a podcast for parents, mothers. Um, I get a lot of questions because I do have a lot of kids. I get a lot of questions. I share on my YouTube channel the fact that I do have a son that is on the spectrum. I have a son with ADHD. So I often get asked questions about how do you manage this or that. And because my content is not related around my children, it is a reality TV channel. When you brought this idea to me about, answering questions and it being a channel or a podcast based solely on parenting, I thought, well, that's a really good idea because I get asked questions all the time. So with me, with my 6 kids, and you with your background, then maybe we could answer some of those questions. And if we can't, we can throw it back out there to the audience to say if anybody has this experience and they can give us, a good option for this viewer, then go ahead and let us know. So I think either way, it works, in everybody's favor.
Yes.
Hopefully.
It's an interactive podcast, basically.
Right.
So, uh, should we jump into the first issue that was left on your post?
Absolutely. Sounds good to me.
All right. So, I did ask for follow up information that I didn't get. So, it's kind of, we'll do our best to answer.
Right.
But she says, my son has ADHD. Since his diagnosis, it's been really hard maintaining the balance of how I have to parent him compared to my other kids that don't have ADHD. It's been difficult to find the right kind of parenting. What works for him doesn't work for the others. And I think this is a good topic for you to address.
Mm-hmm. Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's so true. That is very true. Like I said, I have a son who is 8 who has ADHD, very rambunctious. I mean, when me and my husband talk about like the level of ADHD that he probably has, we agree that it's kind of extreme. Before he was like officially diagnosed, he would bounce and run and jump. He could not even sit still for like 5 minutes to watch TV. He would stand and watch TV and do circles as
Was
he
that your
watched.
first clue?
Yes, yes, that was definitely a clue. Also the fact that
Well, how
he,
old was he when he was doing this?
oh, I mean, from the time he could walk, he was just very like all over the place and running and if me and my husband will be in the middle of a conversation, he would interrupt us and we would say, "Hold on a second, we're talking." And it's like he did not even hear us say, "Hold on." He would
Mhm.
continue asking us and we would say, "Wait, hold on, we're talking." And it's like those words don't even enter his brain because he is just so fixated on the fact that he's got something to say and his wheels are just constantly turning to what he's thinking and what he's got going on. It was like he never even heard what we were saying when we would try to stop him from interrupting. That was definitely a clue. And then when his teacher, like his pre-K teacher, called and said, "I'm really concerned. Dakota can't count to 10." And I said, "Yes, he can. He can count to 10. He can count way beyond 10." And she said, "Well, whenever I like do his testing, for how high he can go in the alphabet, and if he can count to 10, he can't make it past 10. And this was in the afternoon, so Dakota was home. So I called him into the kitchen, and he comes zipping in through the kitchen running. And I said, Dakota, can you count to 10 real quick? And he takes off running back down the hall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Oh boy.
So and I'm like, can you hear him? She's like, yes. And I'm like, I mean, he's running around while doing it, but he can definitely do it. And he stopped at 30. And I said, and she said, well, I've never known that he could count to 10. I can never get him to go like beyond like 5 or something. And I'm like, well, I don't know. So basically he was having trouble at school, you know, participating and doing his work because he just got distracted so easily. So it, you cannot handle a child with ADHD the same way you can handle a, I
A
guess,
typical kid.
right, a typical kid. Um, you have to be a little bit more lax with them because you have to understand that their brains are not functioning the way a typical kid's brain functions. Just like when my son would interrupt us. Oftentimes as adults, you want to get mad thinking, well, they're being disrespectful. But they're not. They're not trying to be disrespectful. My child with ADHD is one of the sweetest kids I know. And when he does realize that he's doing something wrong, he feels really bad about it. So you absolutely cannot handle him. The other kids often also have to understand that you have to be a little different with this child. And you don't even have to explain it as like, oh, your brother has ADHD, so we got to handle him different. You could say every child has their own personality. So
That's
what
what I was
works?
going to say. Every kid requires unique attention. They need
Absolutely.
individualized care. So just because
Absolutely.
one kid has ADHD doesn't necessarily mean you have to treat him any differently. Well, I mean, you do, but because every child requires individualized care, it's just that their care isn't typical.
Right. And yeah, you don't want to highlight the fact, oh, he's got ADHD and it's a big thing. You can literally just say, well, your personality is different than his. You may understand things better than he does. Or, I know you behave this way or that way. Or so I do discipline y'all a little bit different because, well, maybe you're older, he's younger, or y'all understand things on a different level. So you just kind of have to explain it to them like that, in my opinion. You don't want to highlight this big ADHD thing and, maybe then it'd be a big thing in the house. Um,
Well, you also
I
don't
just,
want to make your child feel like there's something wrong with them, right?
exact that too, 1,000%. You definitely don't want them to feel like something's wrong with them. So you have to handle them different. That's a must. I will say when Dakota's on his medication for ADHD, he acts just like his siblings. He is not running around the house zipping and zooming. He's not interrupting us constantly. It's actually pretty wild to see the difference of him without medication versus with medication, because with medication he acts pretty much just like his siblings.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um,
Has there ever been a time where his siblings have gotten annoyed that he's getting something differently than them?
um, like a little bit of different discipline, like
Well, just anything that would, like, maybe they feel like he gets away with more, or he gets more of your attention, or anything like that. I'm just wondering if there's ever been any like rivalry because of it.
not really. No, my kids tend to think that Kennedy gets a little bit more.
Well,
She's the
she's the
baby.
baby, yeah, and she's
Yeah,
your little girl out of
yeah,
all these boys.
right. So they'll say things about her sometimes, but not so much Dakota. Uh, but we try very hard to show them all their own, attention. We do things with them, and then we'll try to do things separately. So, I mean, they're aware of Dakota having ADHD, but even when he's not medicated, they don't say anything about it. Like, they'll say if he's doing too much sometimes, one of them might be like, oh my goodness, he's aggravating me. But it's not like, oh my God, this kid's great, nothing like that. They just may say, goodness, he's been aggravating today, or he's aggravating me. But um,
Well,
so
that's
no,
good that they can,
thankfully.
they can identify their feelings and express it without getting angry.
Right. Yeah, and that's something that we definitely try to enforce and try to um I don't know how to word this. We try to talk, talk to them about, you could tell us how you feel. If your siblings are have made you mad, you could say that, and you don't have to say it in a mean way. You don't have to be a butt about it if your siblings are aggravating you. That's part of life. They're going to aggravate you, but you don't have to be mean to them, and you don't have to say it, by jumping on them or
Well,
anything.
that's
So,
really good though. You've given them an open door to talk to you about their feelings and not to be afraid of feeling, if they are upset, it's okay. They can tell you.
right.
I mean, I
Well,
think I kind of
absolutely.
grew up feeling like we weren't allowed to be upset. So this is nice to hear.
Well, here's the thing. Kids are like adults. They have bad days too. They have days where maybe they're a little irritable, or maybe they didn't get enough sleep last night. So,
Sure.
Eli, my son Eli, he's 12, and he is not a morning person. He
I can
is not
relate.
a morning person at all.
Hmm.
He wakes up in not the best mood a lot of times. And that's something that I've come to realize. He's not a morning person. So I'm not going to mess with him that much in the morning. I'm not going to get mad that he's not a morning person, because some people just aren't morning people. If I let that bother me, that he's not a morning person and he wakes up in a bad mood every day, then I would be in a bad mood every day. So I just accept, I give him his time to wake up and get adjusted. And probably about 5 or 10 minutes before the bus comes, he's kind of coming out a little bit, and he's kind of doing a little bit better. But in the mornings, I put all my kids' socks on their feet except my 16-year-old. Um, but I put all my other boys. I wake them up by putting their socks on their feet. Even him.
That's
He's usually
sweet.
okay about that. He's usually okay about that. Um, but if I'm like, come on, go ahead, get up, he'll be like, oh, But I'm just like, it is what it is. Like, he's grouchy. He's not a morning person. His
But that's
dad's not really a morning
individualized
person.
care. That's a perfect example of individualized care.
Right. Yeah, and my husband doesn't really understand it. He's like, they're old enough to put their own socks on. I'm like, no, but I enjoy this. This is something that I get to do with them. That
That's a really sweet way to wake them up, and it's
100%.
showing that and you're showing that you care.
100%. And sometimes I have to remind my husband about that, because I'll do things for the kids, and he's like, "Why are you doing that? They're old enough." And I'm like, "But no, I like doing this for them, and this is something that is more for me than for them." Obviously, they know how to put their socks on,
Right.
but I do it because in the morning they are awakened to me. Usually, I'll say, "Give me them dogs." I'll, like, uncover their feet, and I'll like start pulling on their feet, and I'm like, "Hey, give me them dogs, give me them dogs." That's what we call
Aw,
their feet, and they stick their little feet out where I can get to them, and I put their socks on, and it's a
that's
it's a
sweet.
little yeah, it's a little time that we get, right before they have to get up
Yeah,
and
yes,
get
that
moving.
that's a really good point. You have a moment with each of your
Yeah,
kids every day before they go to school.
right.
Each one
Individually.
individually,
Right.
making
Yeah.
each one feel that they matter and that
Mhm.
mama loves them.
Exactly. Exactly.
I
I,
love it.
I think things like that's very important. But yeah, the trying to handle one child with ADHD versus some with not. It does take some adjusting when you get that diagnosis, and you're like, okay, this kid is ADHD, like my thoughts were, because we thought that before. We thought, I think he's ADHD. So if the parent had this belief, maybe that the child was, or if it came out of nowhere, if she didn't know that, either way, you do have to parent them different, but you parent children differently, most of the time, depending on age or
It's just
personality. So,
recognizing their unique personalities and adjusting your behaviors to meet their needs. I mean, I could have put that a lot more
right,
eloquently, but the whole idea is to meet their individualized needs. I probably said
right.
individualized 500 times.
That's okay. That's okay. But yeah, I mean, so you do handle them differently, but that's okay, and you explain it to both of them, of them, that is okay.
What do you think about taking, like, you don't have to do something like over the top, but like making sure you have time with each kid at least. I mean, I would imagine most people would do it daily, but at least once a week,
Hmm.
like where you take one child with you to go grocery shopping,
Hmm.
just to get that
Yeah.
one-on-one time.
Yeah. Well, I believe that, especially if you have a lot of kids, like I have six. So we have to do that because I don't want my kids to feel like all mama does is work, and well, she spends more time with Kennedy because Kennedy's homeschooled and she don't
Right.
spend no time with us. So I make sure like my kids play sports. I make sure today, like today Eli had a game. You know what I'm saying? He had a game yesterday, and the games are not close. But like I don't miss games. I used to not even miss their practice until like one of my boys played football and their parents did not go to practice, and then here mama was showing up, and it was kind of weird because I was the only mom there.
Right.
I'll stop going to
Helicopter
practices.
mom.
Yeah, I was like, I'll stop going to practices. Okay. um but if you have a child that plays sports, maybe a time or two going to the game without the other siblings. That
Hmm.
way, you can ride together with your child, hang out before the game with your child, maybe on the way home, stop at a little restaurant and sit in the restaurant and eat with the child. I've
Yeah.
done that before with all of my kids.
Yeah, especially if it's a restaurant they pick. McDonald's.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
You
We
let them
did
pick
that,
because they're gonna pick the cheaper place.
thankfully.
Right.
Where we live, it's a small town, but last year Eli had, I think it was a football game, and I went. Sean stayed here with the kids, and on the way home, I'm like, let's go eat somewhere. And I'm like, where do you want to eat? So he picked the only restaurant that was there, so he didn't really have much of an option. It was a Mexican restaurant, and
Didn't
we
you
actually
say you
just
have something like four? And I was really floored by this. Your little teeny tiny town has something like four Mexican restaurants.
we do, yeah, where I live. Now that evening we were about an hour from here, but yeah, we actually have an El Patio, an El Nepal, um, uh,
El Torito,
not El Torito. It's like, what is it? To reach, I don't know. I don't know.
El Pollo Loco.
Let me see. We have
That's not
four.
Mexican. No, it's okay. I was just putting in a
We
little
have El
tidbit.
Patio, Taquera, Chanchitas, Los Primos, and El Nepal.
Good lordy, that's just
Yeah,
amazing. Because you have, I mean, what's the population of your town? Like 500?
it's not a lot. I mean, it's more than that, but it's not a
I mean,
lot.
I imagine it as just being so tiny, and to have all those Mexican restaurants.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that we do have that many. So this is, I don't know if this is right.
I'm
I
sorry,
don't
I
think this is
totally
right.
got you off topic. I'm sorry.
Our population in 2021, it said it was 2,500, but
That's just so teeny. I think that's like how many people are in my neighborhood.
yeah, we're a pretty small town.
I like that.
Uh, I love living in a small town, though. I really
Listen,
do.
if I could move to a small town like that, I would.
Yeah, I love it.
But we're
I've
so
lived in,
trapped here because of hospital stuff that we're
that's true.
we're in California. So yeah, it's kind of a mess here, but I would move in a heartbeat. I dream of Texas.
Oh, yeah, maybe one day. Who knows? Maybe one day Tyler will get some sort of medical intervention where you can move wherever you need.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Texas has some pretty good hospitals too, though, don't
They
it?
do. They do, but there's other things that keep us here that
From like the videos I've seen of Tyler talking to you, I could absolutely see how it would require both of you guys.
it well his schedule alone is enough to put anybody over the edge.
Right,
He
right.
stays awake. He literally stays awake 2 hours later every day. So we're constantly working our way around the clock. So like if he, well, let's see, if he goes to bed like at say noon today, tomorrow he's going to go to bed at 2 p.m. and then 4 p.m. and then 6 p.m. And we're constantly going around the clock. So if he'll lay on the cold hard floor, he won't get up.
That is just, yeah. I don't have any problems like that. I mean, I mean, I have kids that will stay asleep, but when I get them up in the mornings, like they're pretty good about getting up.
Yeah, it sounds like it with their little socky poos.
Yeah. Y'all might be a little
Now I know what
grouchy,
to get
but
your kids for Christmas. They're gonna get socks.
hey, you know what's crazy is my boys like Eli and Caden actually love socks. Caden, he has a job and he actually buys himself socks now. Like,
Aw.
okay, whatever, go
He
ahead.
sounds like he is so responsible anyway. He's a really remarkable boy.
He's a really good kid. I'm really proud of him.
I mean, like, he really sounds like the ideal teen boy.
Yeah, I'm super proud of him, and I lucked up and got like good kids. Like I got 6 kids that are all
Well, you
pretty
they no,
good.
wait. You didn't just get good kids. It doesn't work that way. You raised good kids.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's got something to do with it.
It
Yeah,
has
'cause John,
everything to do with it.
we talk all the time about how we're really blessed with good kids, but yeah, maybe it has a little bit to do with how we raise them.
It
Or-
has everything to do with how you raise them, I promise. I mean, I have friends who were raised by really crappy people
Mhm.
and they turned out amazing. They're really great parents themselves, but they also had the influence of their friends' families. So
Right.
they saw what they wanted to be as a parent, and then they chose to be like that.
Right. Yeah. I've seen cases where you have really good parents and they will raise like 2 or 3 kids, and one or two of those kids will be great, and one will not be so great and will get mixed in drugs and this and that and end up in jail. And it's just like, and the parent will be like, I don't know what happened. I raised them the same. I don't understand. But they're different kids, different
Right.
personalities, different desires. And,
That's why you can't raise them the same. You have to have that
exactly.
individualized care.
Exactly. Literally every parent that I've like my older 2 kids, Paris and Caden, their dad, he is one of 3 children, and his older siblings are, great, great women, finished school, went to college, and have careers. And he just can't get his act together. And his parents are like, we don't even know. Like we raise them the same. Like we don't get it. And I'm like, but that's what it is though, is they raised them the same when his siblings were they cared about doing well in school. They, wanted things for themselves. They had the willpower to achieve those things, and they didn't uh, they didn't cave to temptation the way he did. So that was the difference. Is
Mhm.
he did not have the willpower to pass things up, bad things. So that's the difference. Is they honestly should have raised him a little different than they raised their older 2 kids.
Right, right. It sounds like maybe he needed more attention and structure
Yeah, and
and goals.
he told his dad as he got older, he told his dad something along the lines of, "You never spent time with me." But his
Mm,
dad worked 24/7. His dad was a mechanic, he was self employed. And not only was he a mechanic, but he was a bus driver too. So he had 2 jobs
oh
to
boy.
keep them. And they had a nice life. They went on vacations every year. They went to New York. They went to Hawaii. When I dated him, I thought they were rich. I mean, which they were well off. But I come from a not well off family. So
Right.
the first time I went to like the city for anything other than a doctor's appointment was with them. And we just went to go to the mall. The first time I went to the mall was with them. The first time I ate at like a fancy restaurant was with them. But he worked really hard to give
Because
them that
he wanted
lifestyle.
well, it sounds like he valued the having the opportunities to do things.
Yes.
So he worked really, really hard to do those things, but you can't be in two places at once.
Right. Right.
So he missed out on his
Yeah.
son who needed more attention.
And he had him, and he paid for him to be in karate, and he bought him a truck when he was like 14. And he thought that, he just thought, well, I'm working and I'm giving him everything that he can have. But when he got grown, he told his dad, he said, but you never spent time with me. Like we never went fishing and We didn't go hunting together. Like, that's what I wanted.
His dad was probably like, but my God, I worked my tail
Hmm.
off for you.
Oh, yeah. His dad was like, wow, you're very unappreciative because I busted my butt to give you
Yeah.
everything that I could for you to turn around and say, like, oh, now his dad is gone. But I guarantee you, if his dad could look, if his dad was still here and had the opportunity to look back at his life, I feel like he would have wished that he would have spent a little bit more time. And I think that we all get caught up in that. Like, we all get caught up in the gotta work, gotta make money, gotta make money. We gotta have this, we gotta have that, wanting to keep up with the Joneses. And even if you don't want to live high on the hog, just having some sense of like financial stability. So, I mean, I get caught up in it sometimes too. I mean, I talk to you a good bit and I'm always working, but that's
You
why
are.
I make sure I'm going to the games. You know, I'm taking my kid here. I'm taking my
And
kid
I can
there.
I can testify to the fact that you do not waver on going to those games.
No, you tried to tell me the other day, you'll probably be okay to let Shine go. And I'm like, no, I don't miss these games. You don't
I
understand.
know, shame on me for even suggesting it. Sorry.
No, but I get what you were saying. I mean, I go to everyone. I understand, what you were saying. But it's just a part of who I am, like I don't know, it's something like
That's how you
in me.
parent,
Yeah, I played sports and my mom would come to games, but she didn't come to all the games because she was working. But
right? I played sports too, and I told my parents not to come. I don't
wow,
know.
really?
I didn't want them there. I don't know why. I didn't want them there. And I actually got my dad showed up one time while I was playing soccer, and I got really mad. I'm like,
That's
I told
interesting.
you not to come.
Wow. I
I
wonder
know
why.
I don't know.
Well, Sean tells me
I
all the
guess I was
time.
kind of embarrassed. I didn't,
Oh,
I was embarrassed because I wasn't like the star player,
that's okay. Your parents didn't care.
but I did.
Yeah. Kids are different, I mean, I could understand that. Sean, his parents never went to any games. They were never, he did like travel soccer and he rode the bus there and back. And he's like, my parents never come to, he's like, I don't remember them coming to any games. So he don't understand why I'm that way about the games. He's kind of like you can miss a game. It's not a big deal. And I'm like, no, I can't. And he's like, my parents didn't come to any games. And I'm like, very sorry about that. Like, that makes me sad for you because I wish they would have, but
So does has Eli told you that he likes you to come to his games?
oh yeah, yeah. I
So
was late.
you have a real reason. It's not just helicopter parenting. He has said to you, "I
Yeah, he
like
likes
you
for me to go.
there."
Right. Yes. And
And I'm
he
teasing. You're
told.
not a helicopter parent. I'm totally teasing.
No, I am. That's okay. I accept the title. But I didn't really know if he cared or not. But I was late to a game probably 3 games ago because so the games usually start at 4, but there's 4 teams playing, and they never play in any type of order. The game before I went to, and Eli did not play until last. So they had um, the eighth grade girls, the eighth grade boys, the seventh grade girls, and then the seventh grade boys. So we was at the game hours before he even played.
Oh wow.
So
Well,
yeah,
then
so
you
the
had time to
next
spend with him alone.
I did, yes, I did. And that's usually what we will do is we'll hang out, we'll sit on the bench by his team all together and we'll hang out. His friends will come sit next to us and everything, and we'll just kind of chit chat or whatever. But this game in particular, I was going to be working, so I messaged one of the other moms and I said, "Hey, do you know what time our boys are playing?" Because my son and her son was on the same team, and she said, "Be there by 4:15, and you should be good. I think they play second." I said, "Okay." So I got there at 4:13. I remember I was 2 minutes early and I thought I was good. I walked in and they played first, not second. So there was only about 4 minutes left of the game. And
Oops.
Eli shot me a scowl like, why are you late?
Ooh.
Yes. When he seen me walk in, I saw them, like his team on the court. I looked up at the time. I saw we were in the third quarter with like 3 minutes left. I looked over at him and he was looking at me with this scowl on his face, like, "Are you really late, Mom?" And I'm like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Oh my goodness." I'm like, "I'm so sorry, buddy." Like, and he's like, "What are you doing, Mom?" I'm like, "Why are you late? Like, you missed the whole game." He wasn't mad, but he was
Oh no,
bothered
no.
because,
But he knows this is like
yep.
he's sounds like he's putting it's not just you showing up. It's you
This
expressing your love for him by
and this is
showing
our
up.
time together. This
Yeah.
is because we don't always bring the other kids. Um, like this particular time, I did have some of the kids. The time before that, it was just me and him. Sometimes it'll just be me, him, and Sean. So he does like that. So yeah, he was like, "What happened? Like, what, Mom? You've missed the game." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I am so sorry." So to make it up for him, to kind of make it up, we stayed for the rest of the games, and we just kind of hung out.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah,
you
so
have to, like, the kids have to know that you value your time with them too. Like, they're worth it.
right.
They're worth it.
Exactly. 1,000%. Yeah. So it's hard to navigate when you do have a lot of children, but it's important that you do your best to navigate it. Even if it's like, sometimes where you just got to say, I know I need to work, but I also want to make sure I do this.
I think also too, being honest with your kids and saying, this is why I have to work.
Hmm.
And I would much rather be spending time with you. Trust
Hmm.
me.
I'm very open with my kids about it, about this is why I work every day. you know, to make money because that cell phone you have, or those games that you play, or those nice clothes that you have, or those new shoes that you wanted. Mama has to work to make sure you can have that. So I work very hard for that. But I love getting those things for you too.
Right. Right. Do your kids ask you for a lot, or do they hint, or like what, how do they approach you if they want something?
They'll ask me,
Just straight up.
oh yeah, they'll straight up say, "Hey, Mom, I want this. Can you get me this?" Or sometimes they'll
They're
say,
not like cutting out an advertisement and sticking it in your magazine or anything,
"No,
like Christmas
no,
Story.
no."
Red Ryder BB
Sometimes
gun.
Sometimes they'll say, my little ones will say, "Mama, do you have enough money for this?"
Aw.
Yeah, they'll say, "Do you have enough money for this?" And usually it's like games. My kids are big into games on their little iPads and stuff. So usually it'll be like Roblox is what it's called, which is virtual money for the Roblox game. Robot. What is it called? Robux. No, Roblox is the name of the game. Roblox, and it's a children's game that you open it up and you have the option of playing like millions of games. So, like Kennedy, she plays it and she likes to play this shopping game where you can go in and shop. Or there's also a daycare game where you can go in and be the baby or the daycare worker, and so I play those with them. So that's
Wait,
usually
what's
what they
this
want.
called? I gotta check this out.
It's called Roblox.
Roblox.
Yeah, Roblox. So you sign in, you make an account, sign in, and then it gives you the option to play like millions of different games.
Huh.
So Kennedy likes a game called Brookhaven. It's where you're in your own little town. You can drive around. You spawn a car, so you just click on the set like these car settings, and it brings all different kind of vehicles up, and you just click on it, and the vehicle pops up, and you get in, and you drive around to the store and the movie theater, and you can walk in people's houses, and
Oh, how fun.
yeah, it's really
It
fun.
sounds kind of like The Sims.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Brookhaven is kind of like that. But you can also play like the supermarket game. You can also play like the farming game where you. Uh,
Okay,
it's
okay.
really it's really interesting.
So,
But yeah,
do
that's
you
usually what
put
my kids want.
money into the account for each kid?
Yes, each of my kid has their own account.
Do they
Um,
earn the money that you put in?
yeah, they can earn the money, or they'll get money for Christmas or their birthday, or things like that. Every once in a while, if there's like a particular, so sometimes they'll do like specials on certain things in the games, and say it's something that Dakota really wants and they're running a special on it, and like
Mm.
normally it's like $10, but they're doing it this week for $5. And like, please, 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 like I might get it for them or whatever. But yeah, they do chores to earn money. uh you know
Do you have a chart? Do you work with charts or stars or
Oh,
anything?
I tried to do the only person we do stars with is Kennedy for her homeschool. I've tried charts here at the house, but they get so mixed up because we do have our kids do things like football and basketball and Paris dance line and all that. So the last time we tried to do a chart was when Paris was on dance line, and like her day came about to do dishes, but she wasn't here because she had dance line. So I did it, So then the next day is like Eli's day, and he's like, "Well, Mom, Paris isn't having to do her day," And I'm like, it just got so messed up with trying to make sure everybody got their day that I was like, "Hey, you know what? I'm not doing a chart. You just do what I tell you to do. How about that? I'll
Yeah,
keep it
that
even.
works.
I'll keep it even for your age and for your ability of what I know you can do at your age." And yeah, I'm not working with a chart. I mean, if people can make charts work, that's great because I wished I could have, but it's just I'll be gone and then Sean, will maybe do this person's chore and the other person. It just got so messed up every time we tried to do it that I'm just like, you're just going to do what I tell you to do tonight. If I need you to do the dishes, then I'm going to, if you did them last night or the night before, then I probably won't ask you again for a couple of days. I'll ask one of the other siblings. I'm not going to make it unfair. So trust that. But I don't ask my kids to do many chores, to be quite
Mhm.
honest.
Right.
I don't like they don't do chores on a daily basis. They do chores maybe 2 or 3 times a week, probably. And it's like simple:
Mhm.
clean
Mhm.
your room, make sure your bathroom's clean. Every once in a while, we'll have them do the dishes between
I want
Caden
to
and Eli.
I want to back. Oh God, if I had 6 kids, I'd be using paper plates. Um,
We do,
I
yeah.
want to bounce back a little bit to internet use,
Mm-hmm.
because we have a question, or not really a question. And it's more of a, what do you think of this?
Okay.
And what she said was, I would love to know how you feel about giving your teens and tweens social media access.
Okay. So I would say Snapchat is definitely a no go for kids because things can be hidden way too well. And I feel like there's a lot of predators on there, adding children, and Snapchat's just, I don't like Snapchat.
Really? Because
Hmm.
I looked this up because I don't do Snapchat, and everything like I saw was like, I actually took some notes on it because I knew I'd forget.
Hmm.
And it like the pros of it was the content is more curated than other social media platforms. It's based on interests and less likely for kids to see things that are inappropriate. Um, Posts disappear shortly after it's posted, and you can follow publishers' content, and which showcases channels you feel comfortable with, and you can like kind of program it to meet what you want for your kid.
Yeah. Well, um,
I'm just going off of what I read. Never
okay.
have been on Snapchat.
Let me tell you what Snapchat is. Okay. So Snapchat is where, for if I had it on my phone, I would open it with a password, my face, pin code, something like that. Um, and I add friends to it, people
Hmm.
that I know, maybe people that I don't know. Uh, and you can click on their name and you can send them a message. But when you send it, it disappears on your side.
Okay.
When they respond to you, it disappears on their side. You can send them a photo with a text on the photo. Once you sent it, it's gone on your side. So, like teenagers dating, boys and girls dating, they can send naked pictures back and forth and nobody would know. Their parents, even if you got into their Snapchat, it disappears instantly. So, when it says like content, is like to their liking, basically there's ads that pop up, you know, that is probably because the computer keeps up with the things that they look up, it somehow can program it for those ads to be something that interests them in the Snapchat app. But the app itself is for you to conversate with your friends and
Hmm.
text your friends and send pictures with your friends. But because the content deletes instantly, parents cannot come back and check that. So they won't even know who you're talking to because it deletes instantly. So like on your cell phone, if you're texting somebody, yeah, you can delete it. But if your parent pulls your bill, they can see that you're texting that person. Uh, they're not going to know who you're talking to on Snapchat.
Okay.
And there's been cases of like young girls, being added by, predators, 40, 50-year-old guys adding these 13, 14-year-old girls and chatting with them for a couple of weeks and then convincing them to come out and meet them and things like that. And then
Ugh,
the
terrible.
parents can't see what the child's doing
Right,
because
right.
the pictures and everything delete instantly.
Okay. So Snapchat's a no-go. But
Yeah, I would say,
the general idea she's saying, she didn't say, well, she did say Snapchat in particular, but in general, teens and tweens are
yeah, I
going
would
to
say
find a way.
I would say Snapchat's a no go because like my kids have phones and stuff, and I know their passcodes. I have access to them anytime I want. But even if I was to open their Snapchat up, I'm not going to see what they were saying. So if you want to, monitor your child's phone, well, you pick it up randomly and check it. That
Mm,
way they don't expect it. And they're not, you don't say, hey, tomorrow I'm going to check your phone. That gives them time to delete if they're doing anything inappropriate, talking inappropriate to their girlfriend or, no, just check it randomly and you're going to see what they're saying and any photos that they have in their camera roll. There's a lot of feedback right now.
but if there's, I guess what I'm trying to get at is that if you have a young tween or teen, trying to prevent them entirely from using social media, I think is
Oh, that's
as
going to be impossible.
I think it's unrealistic.
Right. That's going to be impossible.
I mean,
Well, I mean,
teens want
unless
to
you,
socialize. They've been,
right.
ever since the telephone, the 1950s, the teenagers are yakking on the phone
Hmm.
because that's what they do. And
Yep.
then I remember when my daughter was like 12, it was AOL, instant messaging.
That's how it was with me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think, some things are okay. Cell phones these days, you can have parental locks on them, so they can only do. There's some feedback coming in through like I hear like echoes.
Yeah, I heard a little like tweeting kind of.
Okay, it's good now. Okay. Um, yeah,
Are you talking up close to your mic?
I'm about 6, 8 inches away.
Okay. Try like 3, see what happens.
Okay. So,
Oh, that's way
yeah,
better.
okay. So I would say I would definitely not let my child have Snapchat. Uh, I know there's some apps that like you need a Facebook for. Like we got my son an Oculus, and you needed a Facebook to link the Oculus to it. So he's 10. We made him a Facebook account, but I don't even know if he knows like realizes that he has a Facebook account. But he does have an Oculus where he can play games and stuff. But we have like settings set on it, and when they play certain games, we have them play them within our earshot so we can make sure that everything's going good with it. Some games that are like online games where they can
Mm,
play with other people. Like there's this one game that my son loves. It's called Gorilla Tag. It's where you are in like 3D world, I guess, but you're a gorilla. And there's other people that are
that sounds
really,
like fun.
yeah, you climb trees and there's other people, like his friends play it with him, but other people can get into the servers at times. So
Mm,
we have to let them play those games where we can hear them because unfortunately, sometimes you'll get a grown man in there playing the game being being rude to the little kids
right.
and saying like inappropriate things and then we'll have to, get him out of that game or whatever. So I know there's some games that require like a Facebook for you to sign into. I just
Well, I know
think,
we had to do a Facebook account for Tyler's Oculus.
yeah, same. Yep.
Is
Yep.
that what it called? The goggle things. He calls it his Las Vegas goggles. I
Yeah.
I always forget what it's called, but it's Oculus, right?
It is. It's an Oculus. Yeah.
Yeah, they're neat.
Yeah. I've played it before.
Tyler likes to watch YouTube videos that have been shot in 360 so he can look all around.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
been all over the world on those things. It's so cool.
It is really cool. I've watched movies on the thing before. Like,
Yeah,
you could
they're
sign into your Netflix account and things like that. So it's really cool. But yeah,
yeah.
I think, what would you say would be the appropriate age, Laura, for social media?
Um I every kid's different, you know.
Hmm.
It depends on
Right.
the kid.
I agree.
It
I
depends if they're
actually,
responsible. It depends on if they're, what your relationship was is like. Are they going to tell you if there's a problem?
right.
You have to know your kid.
Yep. I actually know a kid that, I mean, he was probably 13, 14, and he had an Instagram, but he's a very naive kid. And he had this girl message him, her profile. She is beautiful. She's older. And she messages him telling him how beautiful he is, handsome, whatever. And he convinces her to send an inappropriate photo. So he does. And because he's a very naive child. And she then turns around and says, I'm going to send this to all of your friends on your Instagram list if you don't send me $500.
Nice.
Yeah.
What a creep.
And she actually did end up sending it to at least one person because she sent it to my son. My son was on this boy's Instagram list.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And we were in Walmart. And, my son come running to me and says, oh my gosh, mama, I just got a message of so and so from this person saying that they're going to send it to more people if I don't send them money.
Mm,
And
mm.
my son responded and was like, don't do that. Like, that's my good friend. And he already struggles with school. He already gets bullied. Like, don't do that. And they were like, if you don't send me money. So at this point, the person started trying to, you know, extort my son and the young boy. So then I got on the message and was like, this is not his mom, but, my son's mom. And you are sitting around a photo of a minor. Like, I'm contacting the police.
Mm-hmm.
This so unfortunately, if you have children that are naive and they could fall into a trap like that, you definitely have to be very careful. And I would say social media is not for them until they're older and can understand how serious, social media can be. Some kids are more, um, I guess, grasp things better than some, and can sniff out BS more than others.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
there's parental controls that you can put on phones these days.
Well, but aren't there like also like, I mean, this is the first thing that came to mind, like covenant eyes.
Yep, there is. Yes,
Thank you, Anna Duggar.
I know, right? That is so. There's an app called Covenant Eyes that we found out about through the Josh Duggar trial. You can put this app on. I guess you could do it on your kid's phone, and you will be their accountability partner. So if they look anything up that they're not supposed to look at, it will let you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be you can't.
Some kids may not like it. Yeah,
And
I agree.
I think I'd also be having conversations about safety and actually giving examples of cases where things went awry, like with your little
Yep.
friend.
We do that a lot. Like, we will look up videos on YouTube to show our kids about things. I actually showed my kids the other day a video about the Columbine
Mm-hmm.
situation. It was like a little documentary. It was like a 45-minute documentary, and I had them sit down and watch it for multiple reasons. For one, mental health. I wanted them to know if they were ever being bullied at school, they could always come to me.
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted them to suffer in silence and get to the point to where, because one of the shooters, had written like a note days prior saying that he didn't want to live and that, he hated his life. He didn't want to live another day. So, and this is not me defending them. This is just me pointing out that,
Right.
obviously he was he wanted to unalive himself. So something was not right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted my kids to see this, and I wanted to tell them, You never have to suffer in silence. Anytime something is wrong with you, you come to me. If you are bullied, if you're just having a bad day, like come to me. Because if you make a decision that you can't change it.
Right.
There's certain things that once it's done, it cannot be
And
undone.
kids do not understand the
No,
permanency of
their actions sometimes.
suicide or anything like that. They do not
Right.
understand that it's once it's done, it's done. It's not
A
coming back in
thousand
a couple
percent.
of years. It's done.
Right.
And they
So
they,
yeah,
they don't grasp that.
no, not at all. So I showed them that and I talked to them from that standpoint, but then I talked to them from the standpoint of bullying.
Mhm.
You know, you never know what a child is going through at home. And these two children, well, they're not children, these two boys, they're basically grown men. One of the kids had been bullied a lot. And they alleged that that's the reason they wanted to do this, that they had this vendetta against not only the bullies, but the teachers that allowed it and the students that sat by and laughed at it. So they
Right.
kind of went in hating everyone because nobody stood up for them. So I showed them that video and I said, this is why we don't bully, because you don't want to be the person that drives someone to do something like this or to unalive themselves. You never know what someone's going through.
Right. And
So
you want to be you want them to be aware of their friends too.
yep, 1,000%. Yep, 100%. And I've even told them, like, you don't sit by and listen to somebody being bullied.
Yeah.
Like, if you feel like you can stand up and say, hey, stop that, then do that. Say, stop it. Be the person that shuts it down. As long as, don't get in a fight or anything. But no, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, man, that's not funny. Like, don't do that. Yeah. Well, I've told my kids that, that if the teacher won't do anything and somebody's continuing to bully you and they put their hands on you, if you feel the need to defend yourself, then by all means, do not sit there and get beat up.
Right.
I
Right. And
do
I think
not
that's
want
how
that.
kids feel because they're all, it's drilled into them that you can't hit, you can't.
Hmm.
But they need to know that, they can stand up for themselves.
Yeah, surely. Do we have any more questions on the thing?
Um that well, you know what? I think that's it for today because we're at an hour almost.
Okay. Well, that was. I mean, I enjoy talking about this. I think hopefully we can give some good advice, even if it's just sitting here chatting and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But we are doing the Reddit thing too, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that?
Yeah. So, any I we will put the questions that we've addressed on the podcast on Reddit. And anybody who feels like they have a good answer, please share your answer. Or even feel, you're welcome to discuss what we've talked about. Do you think we're right?
Mhm.
Do you think we're wrong? It's okay. The whole
Right.
idea is to support each other, to
Right.
to use our own experiences to help other moms. And
Yes.
if you happen to be an expert in some particular field, by all means, speak up, let us know.
Or even, I mean, we're even open to having other people on the podcast too, right, Laura?
Sure, sure. Um
I mean, if you have like a unique experience with your children and how you handle it or something like that, I think we're open. We were actually supposed to have somebody else on today that had a pretty interesting, I
oh,
guess.
good gravy. Yes. We have a mom whose husband is basically like blackmailing her with child protective services, accusing her of drug use, even though she's not, and calling child protective services like once a week on her, saying she's using drugs, to the point that child protective services finally said, stop calling us. If you're
Wow.
so concerned about drug use, go buy a test at Walgreens. But stop
Oh, wow.
calling us. We're not your
Yeah.
marriage counselor. So I can't wait to get her on. Unfortunately, she got really sick from her little boy. Um, he came
Right.
home throwing up yesterday from school, and lo and behold, now she is.
That's usually how it goes. Your kid gets sick and they're going to give it to you, of course.
Yep, yep. So for
And
so if you have an
uh,
issue like that, if you have an issue, it doesn't have to be, an outlandish issue. If you have an issue that you just don't have an answer for, or you feel like you would benefit from the help of other moms, let us know.
Right.
We can have
Absolutely.
we can have a post on Reddit that's just for people letting us know who wants to come on.
Right.
So this truly
And
is like an interactive podcast.
yes. And if there's any kinks in this podcast, any issues with sound, this is our first official episode. Well, we already recorded one episode, but the sound was not great at all. There was a
Oh, that was
horrible
so
echo.
bad.
But we will continue to work out any kinks. It will only get better from here, hopefully.
I think so.
Um, and like I said, we will have people on. There may be times that I can't be here, that Laura will have another co-host with her. But this is something that we're both super interested in, and we think this is going to be, an interesting conversation just to have two moms, discussing parenting and raising children and what that's like and all the things that come with it and how we handle this and how you handle that and any advice that we can offer.
Yeah, it's this is I think this is pretty unique. I've never
Right.
seen a podcast that is asking the listeners to participate really, like, online.
Right.
It's so cool that in this day and age we can all come together even though we're thousands of miles apart.
It's very cool.
I love it.
Who would have imagined this when I was little? There was like no cell phones really. I think when I was like 8, I remember like the first Nokia phone.
Yeah.
And now you can like you're in Walmart talking on phones and you can look at people as you talk to them on FaceTime and
Yeah, that's like, that
so
was did you ever see that cartoon The Jetsons?
yes, yep, where they had like the screen where they would
Yeah.
answer the phones and it would be up on the screen. Yes. I
Yes.
remember thinking one day we're gonna have that where like we could just answer the phone and see people. That's gonna be so cool. And here we are.
I'm waiting for the device that comes on your head and does your hairstyle, like, what was George Jetson's wife's name? I forget.
Oh my goodness, yes. I need that. I need that. That would
I need
definitely help
it.
me out. That would help me out for sure.
Right, right. Well, thank you so much for coming on last minute. I know you have a gazillion things to do, so I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm glad I was able to squeeze it in.
Yeah. And then hopefully we'll put out one podcast a week.
Yes, that's what we're shooting for.
Yeah, like every
So,
Saturday evening.
yes. So everybody make sure they subscribe to this channel. Check our description box for the links to the Reddit. I don't know if we'll talk about maybe making like a Facebook post. We haven't discussed that yet, but or like a Facebook account. I don't know if we're going to do that, but if we
Yeah,
do,
we
any
probably
links.
will.
Okay, okay. Any links will be in the description box. So check out the description box for any links. You can click the Reddit link, go over to our Reddit and post your questions, respond if you want, or you can respond in the comment section of this video. If you want to come on here, we will leave an email address in the description box as well, where you can reach out to us. If you have specific questions or anything, you can just reach out to us via email.
Perfect. Yes, perfect.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And uh, just remember, Saturday evenings, you can huddle around your old radio and listen to our show.
Cell phone.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Talk
right.
to you next time.
Yes, ma'am. Bye, guys.
Bye.